It's important to also understand what people did for a living in New Spain, and by association all the way out into the fronteras. Well, New Spain is all part of a mercantilistic imperial system within the Spanish Empire. Mercantilism essentially posits that colonies exist solely for the benefit of the sponsoring nation. In this case, Mexico is only useful because it serves the overall economic and strategic interest of Spain. So what Spain wants to do is create in Mexico both a market for its goods, but also to keep from creating an economic rival. The way they do that is they say, these items can be produced in Mexico, these may not. These items will only be available from a royal purveyor. These items can be bought on the open market. So some of the things that Mexico maintains a very tight control over will include things like the production of pulque. Pulque is a drink indigenous to Mesoamerica and really is just raw tequila. It's kind of a semi-viscous alcoholic beverage. Then other things that the Spanish will maintain a control over are things like wine, olive oil, other things that people coming from Europe would want to consume. There's some production that's allowed at the local level. Local level, you can have a tradesman or something like a blacksmith. They can get a license to operate. But the Crown is really going to try to control as many of the crafts and trades as they can. They'll also impose some pretty aggressive income taxes and import and export taxes to make sure that the economy stays suppressed in the New World. So, if you're living in New Spain, one of the things that you have to deal with is this sort of burden of taxation that is part of the price of being within the Spanish sphere. So, economics will then dictate kind of your quality of life in the New World under the Spanish rule. And the further you get away from the port cities and the centers of commerce, the poorer you will be. We've talked about economics. We've talked about the caste system, we've talked about race, we've talked about the politics. But how does all this play out for Texas? Well, Texas, again, is way on down at the end of the food chain. So, everything that might be abundant in Mexico City, government contact, access to goods and services, even the rigid caste system will be extraordinarily muted way up on the Texas frontier. So, whereas you might have been one of the undercast in Mexico City, if you happen to live in, say, Bayar, might have had some Indian ancestry in your background, might have had some other non-European ancestry in your background, it would not matter as much in Bayar, in Texas.